Hey friends, welcome back. Now let's actually start creating our final report. So let me just click on the plus symbol here and then add a new report page. And now let me this time use a background image. So let's say I'd like to use one of the images which I downloaded also from Pixabay. So if you want to use one of those images, feel free to go to the site as well and choose one of the wallpapers which fits your personal needs. So I will go to the Format Your Report page here, and under the Wallpaper option, click on here. I will browse for an image. Let me check this. And this time I'd like to go with this bridge here. So I downloaded that and I click on Open here, and then I have a bridge included as my background image. Of course, whether this is really useful for you depends, of course, on what kind of report you are creating. But I thought that in the last report with the last data set, I used the normal theme. So this time I'm going to show you how to apply an image here. So let's actually maybe fit this. Let's see the fit. The fit looks better, I think. Let me just take a look at the fill. Well, fill looks like that. I will stick with the fit, I think. This is fine for me. That looks good. Then I also maybe want to play around with transparency a little bit. So make it more transparent. This, of course, also depends. You can try out various options here, but maybe let's stick to 13 for now. And maybe we would like to adjust this later on. We can do that, of course, anytime. The other things, I think this is fine. Page information for now. We can rename the page here. Let's call this final report here directly. Final report. Of course, you could also name it here down there as well. So that's fine. And then for the canvas settings, I think the 16:9 ratio for me, it's fine. But of course, if you want to change this, then feel free to do this. So the other options for right now are exactly the way I want it. So nothing to change here. And I go back to the normal build your visual in order to now add some visuals to my report. Before we do this, however, I will add a text box just to apply some kind of header in here. So here, let me just make it bold. Let me also increase the size here. Let's say 24. Let's see whether that works. And now let's say this is Power BI Advanced Training. Okay, like that. And then, of course, I want to increase the size here a little bit. So to have it all in one line, make this a little bit smaller. And then I want to make sure that everything, if I select this, is centered. That's also fine. And then, of course, I can drag this around. So for me, dragging is always the easiest if I hover with the mouse over the 3 dots and then drag from here. That's the most easiest way for me. And also place this in the middle like that. And of course, also you could go to the formatting option and say align, and here align center. That also works. Okay, so that's fine. The only thing which I like to actually change is the background color, because currently you see it's white. But I think I will want to have my image actually as my background. So I need to remove the background color here. So I could go to the effects here under the formatting option for the text box. So you need to select the text box first. And then you click on effects here. And there you can see there's a background, which is currently white. You could use conditional formatting. You could also set transparency here to 100%. Then it's gone as well. But in my case, I can simply say I click off the background, and now you can also see it's gone in here. Okay, so that's what I prefer in here. It's up to you whether you want to show it, but for now, let me get rid of it. Next, I'd like to maybe visualize something. Let's say I'd like to see my total sales by category. So to do this, let me actually go inside my options here, and I will go the donut chart. I personally like this visual for some reason, so I will use it. So donut chart here, and let's say we'd like to see the total sales or total profit. It depends. It's up to you. Just try out what you want. Okay. And then I would like to see this for, make this smaller and this also smaller. I'd like to see this for all my categories I have. So I can take on categories, and I think this actually works. But here also I'd like to go on here. And for the general settings, I also say under effects, please get rid of the background, because I don't want to have a background. I can make this bigger, and then I need to maybe modify this a little bit. So let me just check out a different theme. Under the view option here, I will go in here and say, let's try out the blue one. Let's go to storm. And I think this, at least with let's say orange background like that, it looks a little bit better. So what I like to do is I go under the, let's say, formatting option for the current theme. Let's go in here and say, for this report, I want to use, in this case, the storm. I already did that. And I'd like to customize the current theme. Go in here. And then you can see here for, let's go with, in this case, the text in here. That should be fine here. General settings. And currently the color, font color is this dark. But maybe increase maybe this a little bit. Let's say 12. And also for the font color, let's go with a really dark black. Maybe this one here. And let's click apply. And click apply again. And we see that now this has changed here, right? So the numbers here are now in dark for all the visuals which we create and add to the, in this case, to our report. So this helps, and we don't need to format this individually if we don't want to. So maybe also increase this a little bit, maybe like that, and also like that. So maybe the size was a little bit too big, and I need to change this again. So it's up to me, and just see. Or actually, maybe I don't want to show the percentage numbers in here. So select this one here and say for the formatting option here in the visual, I go with the detailed labels, and I don't need to show the percentage numbers. I go with only the data value. So let me just take on data value here. And this basically is probably the better option for me now, like that. Okay, so I can place this somewhere on my screen. And then I have my visual, which I wanted to apply here. So next to that, then maybe I also like to display here the total amount. So let me check here the card visual. And for the card, I simply tick here my total sales. So go with the total sales, tick this option here, and also format this a little bit. So go in here and say for the general settings here, go to effects and get rid of, in this case, the, where is it? The background. So remove it here. And then let's make this a little bit smaller here. So it's still too big. So let's actually select it here first, go to the visual settings, and then say for the category label, we don't need it, get rid of that. And then also for the callout value, we will remove the size here a little bit. And let's try out maybe, let's say 25. Okay, that's smaller, that's better for me. Because now I can actually put this value in here, can make it smaller if I want, like that. And then I can drag this inside my, in this case, my chart in here, right? So my donut chart. So simply to place it in the middle. So now if I have those two in here, I could see that now if I select something, I can actually see this value filtered as well. And have it both in here together, and maybe looks better like that. And also maybe down there, it's a little bit different to see. So let me just select this one, So I have them selected together, and I can actually move them up like that and place it maybe somewhere here. Because I think on the well, more orange background, it's easier to see, right? Like that, my point of view. Okay, so we got this one here and here. So nice visualization in here. And now let's actually add something in addition to that. So let's go with something we have created. So remember, customer classification was actually a quite difficult, right, task to create. And of course, now the current theme has also been applied here. That's why it looks a little bit different regarding the colors, but the value itself is actually exactly the same as before. So let me select this here, Control-C to copy this, and then let's go to the final report here, and we can actually paste this inside directly like that. So we have it here as well, and also go in here and say for, in this case, the, let's say data label is fine, but in general, I want to actually get rid of under effects, the background color. Let's turn this off. And then let's actually make this smaller like that. And we could then place it somewhere on our visual here as well. Maybe place it here, for instance, to have this here as well included in the report. Again, of course, I understand totally that based on the current background, sometimes, for instance, the legend here is not that easy to see. Of course, you can play around with that. You can go in here and say you maybe want to add the legend to a different position. Let's say, for instance, I could say right center. If I take this option, then the legend is here. Or let's maybe try out bottom center, take this option, and maybe that is easier to spot. I mean, it really depends on the visual when you created that. But for me, that's for now totally fine. It's just an example for this report, and I'm totally sure and convinced that you come up with maybe something much more advanced. And of course, also feel free to take a snapshot and share this in the comment section also for this course with me, and also maybe other students if you want. So this is now the two visualizations we have added here. So let's also add maybe a few additional information. So let's say I'd like to see my KPIs, and for the KPIs, I will use, in this case, the multi-row card again. You don't have to do it, but for me, that's the way I want to visualize that. I go with my total sales, total profit, total cost. That's totally fine. And yeah, for me now, that should be those three values. Also, of course, you could add additional one, let's say profit margin. I think that's fine. Actually, this one as well. And then I'd like to actually go to the formatting option here as well, general, go to effects and get rid actually of the background. So actually remove this completely here. And now we can see our KPIs here. And of course can also place them somewhere. Maybe here on top, or maybe actually do it so on. Let's drag this a little bit down here like that maybe. And then we can add those maybe somewhere up in the top here, right? So, or maybe actually make this smaller maybe, and a little bit bigger, and display them like that. Also maybe all four of them like that. This could also be done, right? So you have them then in a box, or actually place them maybe here on top. So we could have them here as well visualized. So again, it depends on how you want to style your report. It's totally up to you. And then of course apply different kinds of formatting options. If you select the visual here and take a look at, you want to show the category labels. If so, should they have a different font size, or want to make it bold, and so on. It's again totally up to you, your specific needs and use case. Additional, what I like to do here is, let me just take this option here, and actually I like to create a border around the visual. So let's do that, okay? So let's actually go to the formatting option here, and under, I think the general section here, there is under effects, should be actually, there is the option to add a border. So turn on visual border here, and let's take a look at it. So currently you see now there's a black border around it, but you can also customize this even further. Sometimes I think it's quite nice if you go to the general settings here, and under effects, the border itself, if you turn it on, you maybe play around with rounded corners. So if, say, for instance, 5 as a rounded corner, now you see that here the corner is a little bit rounded. And of course you can customize this further if you want. So try out what works best for you. So general, effects, then the border here, and then let's try out 10, okay? Let's see what this looks like. And also if you want to add a shadow, you can turn on the shadow here as well. Then you got this shadow effect, which sometimes also is really nice on the report. But again, this of course, as I said before, is totally up to you. What you think is best and what best fits your needs. So let's do the same here maybe for this one. We also have this measure here. Let's drag this up and also apply here some kind of border and shading. So go in here, go to the effects. Let's say, okay, turn on the border. I will do the same. So I go also with a rounding of 10. So I'll type in 10 here. The black border is fine. You could also change the color if you want. And the shadow, let's also turn this on and use the default shadow. I think that's totally fine. Of course, you can also customize how the shadow should look like. And we have this here as well. And of course, we could also do this for this measure if you want to do that, or we leave it the way we currently have. And finally, maybe you would like to also place a visualization at the bottom here, or maybe 1 or 2. It's up to us, of course. And one thing I'd like to add here is maybe one of the AI visuals, which also are available in Power BI. So what about we try out the smart narrative visual, which is, let's just see, there it is. So smart narrative, let's click this option and let's see what it gives us. Just a second. And then let's see what kind of text we get. And this is the text. Okay. So what you basically get with the smart narrative is something which you cannot really specify upfront. What basically happens is the following. Power BI is scanning all the visualizations you have on the screen. And then based on the visualizations, it tries to summarize the most important topics. As you can see here, Across classification, top had the most interesting recent trend and started trending up in 2020, rising and so X% in 2 years. This is basically here what's specified in here. Okay, regarding well, a specific, in this case, visualizations we have created. So, and also this, of course, can be changed. So you could try to filter something. If I click on here and you see that the numbers here update. So the smart narrative visual regarding the numbers which are specified here are also, of course, included in the filtering. So of course, let me just go to effects here, just to be consistent here, get rid of the background color for the visual border. Again, we turn it on and set it here to 10 pixels, 10 pixels here. And then of course, we have this in here. So here maybe we would like to have to apply a different kind of color for the font maybe, because otherwise you can see it's really difficult to read. Of course, we can also make it smaller here maybe and see whether that better works, or place it somewhere else to see just what kind of insight we get. Maybe let's try that. Let's actually go in here and drag this down a little bit and drag this maybe, let's just see, select it and drag this up a little bit so it's easier to read probably if it's on a lighter background in here, like that. Customize this according to your needs. It just, the main point here really is to see what kind of options are available here. We have not used this visual so far. That is why I wanted to share it with you in here. Even though I think, of course, here it doesn't make too much sense because it doesn't give you too much additional information. But I always would encourage you to try out here what kind of visuals are available. And I think the smart narrative sometimes is kind of interesting because you can simply run it, and Power BI is then doing its AI functionality in the background without you have to do anything. It's just taking a look at all the charts, the visualizations you have, and then it simply tries to analyze them and give you some kind of insights. Whether they are helpful for you or not, this is something you have to decide for yourself, right? But still a very interesting visual, which could also be extended. So you can write your own additional text in here if you want, and also create your own values in here. If you want to add custom measures or inside this visual, you can also do that. So it's customizable, but by default, it gives you exactly the thing which you can see here currently. So maybe drag this down, that's it. I think that's fine. Okay, leave it like that. Otherwise, we have to scroll. Okay. So that's that. And of course, finally, maybe one additional visualization at the bottom here. Let's actually drag maybe something regarding dates. So let's use maybe a timeline. I'm using a line chart here. And I want to see my, in this case, let's say the profit developed over time. So select profit and then our dates table. In the dates table, I'm using the date dimension. Then I have it like that. I can drill in. Or let's just see if I right click here and I go to date to show it without any kind of hierarchy. I have a little chart like that and I can see a development over time, which of course I can also visualize. Or maybe let's just see if we use this on a monthly basis. Let's see how that looks like. Go to the date hierarchy and drill into the monthly level. Go in here, go in here. So now we're on the monthly level. This could also be a chart which interests to us. Or one more time, if you see it on a daily level, it would look like that. So for me, now I leave it on daily level like that. Go in here and do the same formatting option one more time. So general section, get rid of, in this case, the background. So then make sure that in this case, we have a border. For the border itself, we would like to have this maybe, in this case, 10 pixels again. So like that. And then for the shadow, we also turn this on to have it also like that. So, and we are good to go. Also, of course, what you could try is if you go in here and go with the, where is it? The general section here and go to the effects. Maybe you still want to use a background, but set the transparency very low, right? Like that, for instance, because then you still have maybe a little difference to the background of the image, but still it's highlighted like that, right? So you can see it then on chart level, whether that makes sense or not. Let me go back in here because that was one too much. So go in here and select it and go in here and say for the general section here, let me just change that back, go to effects. And then let's actually get this, I think I wanted to turn it off like that. Okay, and I get my final visualization in here. Again, you can add additional ones. You can slice and dice the data if you want. You can add slicers. You can also remember if you want to, define how the chart should interact. So whether you select something and then only you have a highlight like that, or you want to filter the charts completely, you already know how that works. You just go in here, select under the format option, the edit interactions. And if you tick this option, you can specify exactly for each visual, should it affect it? So for instance, if I select this one, I want to, in this case, let's go with filter the classify customers. I can tick this option. Now it's filtered. And now if I select here my drinks, then I can see the data only for drinks appearing here, right? So it's up to me. So let me untick this one. And let's actually, you can do the same for the other visuals. Just check the visual and then specify how should the other visuals interact. So also if I would like to filter, for instance, the donut chart here, also click on the filter. And now I can filter here like that. And I can see that now this is the data reflecting here my, in this case, top customers in 2020. Okay, so that's basically how that works. And that's it actually for creating the report itself. Now, there's a lot to improve, of course, but I leave this up to you. This was just really to setting up the basics and to get you started creating your own powerful and very dynamic Power BI visualizations and reports. Okay, so that's it actually for this video. Hopefully you learned something and hopefully that gives you some kind of ideas and gets you started to create your own Power BI report. Okay, so thanks a lot for watching and hopefully see you in the next video. Until then, best guys.